Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of St. Louis. My name is Steve Wilke. My pronouns are he, him, and I am a member of the worship committee. This is part 2 of a worship service we did last summer. As many of you know, my parents and I taught Sunday school for many years. Realizing our kids did not have good Bible literacy, we began teaching Bible stories with the UU bent. After talking to several members, we realized many of the stories we were teaching were also not well known by the congregation. So this Sunday, we're going to tell a Bible story, one that you probably think you know, but don't. One more thing before we get started. This particular story has some parts that, if told accurately, may not be appropriate for all audiences. There was some debate about whether to issue a warning about this service for its mature content. And while I thought it would be funny to get a mature audience rating from YouTube for reading a Bible story, we didn't think that Kim or the new board president would really appreciate that. So we have decided to ever so slightly pull our punches and make this service less R-rated and more of a PG-12, okay? So think of it like with Sesame Street, where you have the adult context going on as they were learning lessons. You remember that guy who had the trench coat, was like, "Would you like to buy an O?" And clearly that was not about buying O's. Okay, that kind of thing. So just keep an eye out for context, and I think you'll understand that what we're putting down. All that being said, keep your eye on the TV screen for slightly more mature context to the stories that we are telling. We are glad you could join us this Sunday, either in person or online. If you're a visitor or newcomer, I'd like to extend a special welcome. And if you are new to the congregation, be sure to fill out a newcomer form found in the live stream description or in the lobby of the church. After service, join us downstairs in Fellowship Hall for coffee and donuts. We welcome family with children. Families with children are invited to connect with the RE committee after the service for more information about our RE program. If you're attending online, you don't get to see my funky dance moves, but you can connect with each other in the chat. And don't forget that link for the virtual coffee hour can be found in your weekly e-news. There are several important announcements this morning. Beyond Earth Day, Climate Revival 2, Sunday, August 3rd, 2025, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. here at First Unitarian Church. Join congregations from across the St. Louis region as we learn and lament, reground, and recommit ourselves to the work of environmental justice in the St. Louis region and beyond. Next Sunday, July 20th, First Church members and friends can support the Hot Lunch program by preparing a meal for approximately 100 people in our Fellowship Hall kitchen and transporting and serving it at Trinity. This is a great multi-generational volunteer activity that benefits our neighbors in need. Food prep begins at about 10 a.m. and concludes at Trinity at 3 p.m. with cleanup. Volunteer shifts are available through the morning and afternoon, permitting helpers to participate in preferred ways and shifts. You can also support our efforts by donating home-baked cookies. Volunteers may sign up by accessing our online volunteer form in Fellowship Hall. Mo needs help. Oh, sorry, I have to scroll down. Mo needs help in the AV closet. Okay, he honestly is a fantastic teacher. He can get you trained in basically 5 minutes. He wanted me to say you only got to press 3 buttons. He taught me, so basically anyone can do it. Kind of mean. But it gives you a different perspective of the worship service, and we really do need more people helping. So if you are willing to do so, please sign up to be in what was previously known as the Chaos Closet, but because we're doing it all well now, it's completely organized and well run. Lastly, join the worship committee. It is full of fantastic people with wonderful backgrounds and perspectives, and you can help with worship services just like this one. From anyone interested, please reach out to Pam Geppert. Now, please center yourself in preparation for worship as I disappear. Welcome to this religious community where we affirm the worth and dignity of all who enter. We gather in community, understanding we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, identity, and theology. Our values invite us to a shared journey of truth and meaning-making. Together, we foster a spirit of gratitude and generosity so that all may feel welcome and all can thrive. We are glad you are here with us this morning. Please enjoy our prelude, Ave Verum, by Evet Titcomb and performed by Alan Hoffman.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Wilke, the mother of Steve. I've always introduced myself like that. You guys know, why that would be true, right? My pronouns are she, hers. Welcome to our worship service where we celebrate the wonders of stories and storytelling. Stories can be used for various purposes. They can be used to teach a concept or to make a point. They can also make you happy or sad or scared. People have been telling stories since language began. So let us celebrate all the stories of our life. Now please rise as you are willing and able and join us for hymn 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Our chalice lighting is by Michael Servetus, a 16th century physician, lawyer, and Unitarian. He denied the doctrine of the Trinity because it was not supported by the words of the Bible. In response, the Calvinists burned him at the stake. Religious institutions should be a source of spiritual guidance, not a mechanism of control. All right, mic check? Cool. All right, so to get into the story, we decided it starts with a conversation between Abraham and God. You put up the story so far, go ahead. Oh, sorry, I'm Abraham and she's God, but you knew that, right? Okay. Yep.
So here's the setup. The scene takes place after God has flooded the world, and promised Noah to never destroy the world again.
It will.
God has changed Abram's name to Abraham and his wife Sarai to Sarah. God has recently told Abraham and Sarah they were going to have a son. Sarah was 90 and Abraham was 100. They were a bit skeptical. In this story, God walks and talks like a human. Abraham can see God and speaks to God like a human. No burning bushes in this story. Abraham.
I'm Abram. Oh, right. You added a ha to my name for reasons that don't make any sense in this context of the story. I am so happy you're here. Let me bathe your feet, bring out the cow. Oh, this is great. And, oh, hello. Who are those two handsome fellows that you got with you?
Two servants who represent men or resemble men who are on a mission from God.
Jake! Elwood! It's a bad joke, I know, sorry.
No, a real mission from God.
Are you going to destroy the world again? You kind of got that apocalyptic look in your eye.
Abraham, Because you shall surely become a great and mighty nation, I will tell you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
From the child you and your wife. Stop laughing.
I'm not laughing. What are you talking about?
Nay, but thou didst laugh.
Okay, why are you talking like that? That's a really weird way to say it. Oh, so now you're getting all King James on me?
Listen, they are going to the towns, these people that are with me, these creatures, of Sodom and Gomorrah. Both towns' sins are very grievous, and I'm sending my 2 angels to see if they can be saved. If not, I will know. Yes?
Are you going to kill everyone? I mean, the whole town is probably not wicked, right? Are you going to save anyone? Okay, what if you found 50 good people? Would you save the town then?
If there were 50 good people, I would not destroy the cities.
Cool. What about 25?
You're pushing it, but yeah, I could save the city.
What about 10? Or how about this? 5, and only 5 are kind of wicked, right? So like this, they rest on the Sabbath, but then every other day because they're kind of lazy. How about that?
For the sake of those 10, I will not destroy the city.
How about
10? 10 non-wicked people. Not kind of, totally not wicked.
Gosh, I shouldn't have pushed it. Okay, well, let's see. My nephew Lot is there. His wife, who I don't know well enough, so we just call her wife, right? So that's 2. And then the 2 daughters, daughter and daughter, so that's 4. Okay, so that only needs 6 more. Surely there's 6 good people in Sodom, right? Right? Insane. Okay, so now for the good stuff. I am mostly reading from King James, and I'm going to start with Genesis 19 through 1 through 14. I will say this, it gets a little confusing with pronouns. King James often refers to the angels as he, so it gets a little confusing. So I've changed some of the pronouns to reflect who we're actually talking about. But other than that, it should be pretty close to what the actual quote from King James is. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate at Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and you shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And Lot pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house. And he made them a feast, and did bake them unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter, and they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came to thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold now, I have 2 daughters, which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. Yeah. And the men said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came into sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the angels put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the angel said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides son-in-laws and thy sons and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxen great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his son-in-laws, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his son-in-law. The act of sharing our joys and concern is an invitation to community, to support celebration and love. Now is the time in our service when we connect with one another by sharing our joys and concerns. I got 5 responses, guys. Melanie Thafman recently broke her arm. We hope that it is healing quickly. And last Tuesday, she went to see the Phoenicians game. She would have much preferred to see Superman with her nephew, but, do what you do. Healing thoughts to Karen Segrist, who is in the ICU with sepsis and other infections. She has said that she is feeling better. Wishing Charlie Hagel, son of Danielle Kazimchek, a speedy recovery from recent appendectomy surgery. In our community, we have a wonderful friend dealing with a breast cancer diagnosis. We're wishing peace for our family grieving a sudden death from cancer. This is listed as a concern, but a daughter's job interview that I guess is taking place tomorrow. And the struggles of younger family members trying to remain in the middle class. We hold these concerns and tenderness and compassion. May they be lighter because they are shared. As a community, we also share our joys and celebrations with one another. Sabrina Trupia has started as our Minister of Congregational Life. They began July 12th, and we all look forward to working with them again. Superman. It's really good. And I know some people have told you that it's woke. It's because he's nice and kind. They just need to get over it. Go see Superman. It's very good. In our community, we have someone who's looking forward to a trip with her sister. We have someone looking forward to being with her sister and learning and growing together. We have someone's fiance's opportunity to spend quality time with her sister. We have the joy for the village of friends that raise children together. And then after 3 years of temping, someone's youngest has a job with benefits starting August 1st. We lift these joys with gladness and celebration. May they be magnified because they are shared. With many joys and concerns remaining unspoken in our hearts and minds, please join me in a spirit of prayer and mindful attention. This is the prayer of storytelling by Mandy McGlynn. Spirit and life and love, Holy One of our being and our becoming, that which is sacred within, among, and beyond us. We know so many stories about you, God, Lord King, Father, Earth Mother, Great Spirit, Universe, Holy Parent, Divine Love, Deepest Longing, Covenanted Partner. We know stories about our country and its founding too, of the values we claim as a people. We have stories about those narratives, about how our values have and have not manifested our reality. Blessed One, we also know so many stories about ourselves, some of them the same stories we tell about others, beautiful, ugly, simple, difficult, joyous, useful, worthless. Stories about who we are, what we know, and the potentials of impossibilities of our future. Stories about our purpose and the meaning of our lives. We have countless stories buried too deep in our souls for us to even recognize them. God of discovery, help us find the strength to excavate those buried stories. Let us lean on one another as we brush them off, hold them up to the light, and find their meaning and use. May our roots nourish us so that we might grow abundantly and flower into blessings for one another and the world. Above all, Holy Parent, sing us a gentle lullaby in the streets and winds, in the kind words of neighbors, in the warmth of the sun and the sparkle of the snow. Whisper to us the truest story you know, and sing it to us in the notes we can never unhear. Remind us every day, every moment, that we are beloved, beloved, beloved.
Rest of the story. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed by the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the angels laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of the 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said to them, Oh, not so, my lord. Behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed me into saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me, and I die. Behold now, this city is near the flee unto, and this is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. And he said unto him, See, I have accepted the concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow the city for which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything until thou become hither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. So the sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. Now, the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis strives to be a welcoming congregation, inspiring lives of loving kindness and integrity by nurturing spirituality, building community, and advancing justice. Your contributions support the mission and ministry of this congregation in St. Louis region and beyond. This morning's offering will be received. So this is my offering of gratitude to all the storytellers that keep our world interesting. We say thanks.
So I'll confess, following it in King James, I actually got lost and I know the story, so I'm just going to quickly rehash how the story of Sodom and Gomorrah goes. Abraham meets God walking the earth with two people that look like humans but are actually angels. God has decided that he's going to blow up Sodom and Gomorrah for untold acts of sin and wickedry, but doesn't actually define what it is. Abraham starts negotiating with him and gets him down to about 10 people. If we can find 10 people, we won't blow up Sodom and Gomorrah. They then go to Sodom, the two angels. Lot greets them even as strangers, but as guests in his home. While they are there, an angry mob goes to Lot's house, knocks on the door, and said, "Bring out those people, we want to meet them." And I already showed you what meet meant. Lot, being the only good man of Sodom and Gomorrah, says, no, don't meet these two strangers, meet my two virgin daughters. The wicked people say, no, we really want those angels, and then everybody gets smoted and smited and blinded and everything else. God then says, well, I'm not going to do 10 people, I'm just going to do Lot and his two daughters. You go off. They're going off. Of course, wife, who again doesn't have a name, turns around, she gets turned into a pillar of salt. I still don't know what that means, but we showed you the images. And then they go to the town of Zoar. So that's the nutshell version of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. A show of hands. How many of you thought you knew that story? Okay, how many people actually knew the real story? About 4. Okay. So modern culture and certain religious leaders would have you believe that the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is about the evils of homosexuality. That is further backed up by the English language, with the word sodomy coming from the town of Sodom. Quick side note, poor Gomorrah, right? It keeps catching all of Sodom's strays. In the story, what exactly did Gomorrah do? It's really rough, right? Sodom does this thing, and then boom, they actually get blown up as well. It's really strange. If you've heard of the story but had not read it, you probably thought that somewhere inside of it there was a big denunciation of being gay or participating in gay activity. But that really isn't what the story is about, right? Of all the bad behavior of this story, being gay is really the least of the concern. It seems to me that the main wickedness of the story is lack of hospitality and lack of consent, regardless of the gender of the perpetrators and the victims. As you use, I think we can get behind the proposition that hospitality is good and lack of consent is not okay. Lack of consent is not okay. So then why is this story misinterpreted? You will be surprised to hear that this is the only story in the Bible that even vaguely addresses the alleged sin of being gay. Now, don't get me wrong. The King James Version of Leviticus certainly says in 1821, "Thou shalt not lay with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination." I cannot sugarcoat that. It is pretty clear, although kind of weird that it only talks about gay men. There's actually no word of gay women at all. I do have some theories as to why that would be true, but again, I'm not a theologian and I'm not a historian, so I'd like you to come to your own conclusions about why women wouldn't be included in this pronunciation. But here's the thing about Leviticus, and this is truly a layperson's opinion, it's really weird. Do you know what the line right above Leviticus 18:20 says? Mo, show them slide 18:20. "Don't sacrifice your children on the altar fires to the god Moloch. I am the Lord your God, and that would disgrace me." And for anyone wondering why so many coming-of-age affirmations reference the child-eating god Moloch, it's because we found that passage looking for the anti-gay Leviticus passage. We then found this passage, could not believe it was actually in the Bible, and has told basically every class that we've had ever since. So you're welcome. But that being said, not sacrificing your child to Moloch seems like pretty good advice. And there's some other good advice in Leviticus. Let's switch. I'm going to do a contemporary language because it's a little easier to understand. But let's look at Leviticus 18:11 through 18. "Do not steal or tell lies or cheat others. Do not misuse my name by making promises you don't intend to keep. I am the Lord your God. Do not steal anything or cheat anyone, and don't fail to pay your workers at the end of each day. I am the Lord your God, and I command you not to make fun of the deaf or to cause a blind person to stumble. Doesn't that sound like he's really referring to like one particular guy? Like, okay, Zechariah, stop making fun of the deaf, okay? This is not going to work. Be fair no matter who is on trial. Don't favor either the poor or the rich. Don't be a gossip. But never hesitate to speak up in court, especially if your testimony could save someone's life. Don't hold grudges. On the other hand, it's wrong not to correct someone who needs correcting. That's probably for the parents. Like all the parents said, excuse me, I need to correct my children. Don't be angry. Don't be angry or try to take revenge. I am the Lord, and I command you to love others as much as you love yourself. I mean, those are pretty reasonable, right? Now, this is a bit of a diversion from what we're talking about, but Mo, can you show them Leviticus 18 to 34, 35? Don't mistreat any foreigners who live in your land. Instead, treat them as well as you treat your own people and love them as much as you love yourself. Remember, you were once foreigners in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord, your God. Did you guys know that sometimes the Bible's kind of woke? Okay, but I'm pulling pieces out of Leviticus, right? So if you live by Leviticus, you must also die by Leviticus. Can you show Leviticus 19 to 29? And I'm switching to King James because he really does it really well. I'm not going to read that one out loud, but oops. I mean, it seems to me the only good man in Sodom may have violated Leviticus 19:29. But frankly, that's also a role that I think most of you could get behind, right? We probably shouldn't do that with our daughters. Okay. And this seems much more important than some of those other ones that you saw. One of the strangest things about Leviticus is it doesn't delineate levels of wickedness. It's just simply, this is good, this is bad. It doesn't go, this is a little bad, this is a little good. It's just bad, good. So it makes it very, very difficult to follow. I show you this and talk about this not because I'm trying to make fun of the beliefs of others, but to argue that we should be skeptical of those who say the Bible is their only source of their ethical beliefs. Clearly, they have either not read it, or they pick and choose which portions should be followed and which parts should be hidden away forever. Cafeteria Catholics, you've heard that expression? Of course, Unitarians do that too, right? But we celebrate it. Leviticus is mostly a series of rules to do and not do. As such, it is often not read to children, except when I do it. Frankly, everyone prefers stories than simply a boring set of rules to follow. Jesus taught through stories, like the Good Samaritan or the prodigal son. Unfortunately, teaching lessons in stories can lead to some confusions when either the storyteller or the audience misses the message that is trying to be presented. So back to our story this morning with Sodom and Gomorrah. Some religious leaders really want to teach that being gay is wicked and sinful, and the only story in the Bible that gets close to that message, and not that close, is Sodom and Gomorrah. So I hope we have shown you today that the story is misunderstood. It does have meaning, but not the one that many thinks it does. And for what the story really does mean, we have Kathy Wilke.
He was handing it off, you know. Oops. I forgot I had my own. So I'll begin with that I love stories. I really, really do. When I was in second grade, Wednesday was my favorite day because my teacher had recess duty, and we got to read out of a fairy tale book instead of the boring old stories that they made us read, okay? And we'd walk around that poor woman. I just can't even imagine all these little kids tagging after her. She had a really soft coat, too. But I digress, sorry. My paternal grandmother sent us a comic book. we got once a month. It was from the Oral Roberts people, and it started off with a Bible story in the front that was a cartoon. You know, it was what I call a comic book. Now they're called graphic novels. And then the second part was when you put your hands on the TV and you're healed, and I didn't pay much attention to that. But I ate up the Bible stories at the first part of it. At Sunday school at Ferguson Methodist Church, my teacher was the minister's daughter. Wasn't too impressed with him, but she was great. And she told us all kinds of stories. She didn't read them boring. She just read them really of interest. And then I started reading the Grimm fairy tales, and I'm so thankful to them that they went around and collected all those stories that had been told for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. My mom's favorite folk tale was The Little Red Hen, because she wanted to be sure that we all knew who was doing all the work around the house. Just saying. I started reading Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Egyptian. As I got older, I became fascinated with Norse mythology. Boy, and I'll tell you what, and those Norse fairy tales, whew, they are brutal, but I was just fascinated by them. I collect stories from Africa, including the stories that were then told by the enslaved people in America. And I'm amused by the fact that a very big character in that part of Africa is a spider named Anansi. But when they got to America and told the stories, it became Aunt Nancy. Just look it up. But they're the same stories, it's just different kind of character. My sister's Chinese son, Gong Chen, introduced me to the Monkey King. It's a Chinese series of stories. And I have to tell you, it's kind of bizarre, but it's fun. It's fun, too. Love the stories, the Hindu stories out of India. All really good stories to tell. And because of my maternal Cherokee background, I've always been interested in indigenous people stories, especially the creation stories. Because, you know, people will tell you that there's an incredible statistic that says like 1 in 5 people in America still believes in the Genesis story of creation. I mean, literally believes that that's how the world started. Whatever. But the indigenous people's stories were similar. And of course, the one similarity is that everybody calls themselves the people. You know, in Navajo, the Dene, it means the people. So I guess everybody's creation stories are like that. They're the only people in the world. Stories are often very useful teaching tools. But it's important to note that sometimes the facts are lost in the translation or in the telling. I'm reminded of a conversation I had with a Unitarian minister in Oklahoma. I was at General Assembly one year, and I don't even know what we were talking about, but he said when he was a little kid, he heard the minister say that God was a spear. He said spear. He misunderstood. The guy was saying spirit, but he heard spear. And the poor guy says he was left wondering why his parents had led him to such a weird place where people worshiped a pointed stick. He eventually figured it out because he was a minister, right? But he says, yeah, why would he be a spear? And then, of course, my old favorites are the ones where a child was asked to make a drawing of the nativity scene. And when the teacher looked, well, it was this big airplane, and there were some people peeking out of the windows, and there was a person peeking out up here. And as a good teacher will tell me about this. Well, there's Mary and Joseph and the baby, and that's Pontius the Pilate. And then the other child drew this picture. You had the baby and Mary and Joseph and some shepherds, and then there was this big fat guy off in the corner. Well, who's that? Oh, that's Round John Virgin. Out of the mouths of babes, right? So as we read the Bible, we need to remember that these stories are very, very old and first told at a time when people didn't write. Writing was rare anyway. And then they were written down by unknown authors years after the events had happened. There are no original manuscripts for any of the books in the Bible. And every manuscript in existence is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. Not to mention the fact that, when you're writing it down and you're copying it, just like what we did, I don't like that word, so I'm going to put this word in there instead. And eventually, people are confused about what maybe the original was supposed to be. And then, of course, my other favorite was all the people who were doing the copying. Most of them were illiterate. So it was just like doing art, I guess, So who knows? And then once they're translated, you have the whole other issue of, languages are completely different. I had a friend who went a year away in Colombia during high school, And he spoke Spanish. We were in a Spanish class. But he said the big deal was the idioms. That's what just threw you. There's no way to kind of learn that. So who knows how many mistranslations there are out there. And even now, there are numerous variations of the Bible in print right now. The King James Bible is not the only one. There's a lot of different ones, and you'd be surprised to see how much they change. Now, my husband and Stephen and I have been teaching Sunday school here for a long time, and since I'm interested in Bible literacy, we oftentimes did use that as a topic. And so one Sunday, we took the kids to the art museum just to show them the religious paintings. And I was like, okay, now you can tell who Peter is because he's got the key, and the guy with the fur, that's John the Baptist. But they were really intrigued when we got to the painting of Judith and Holofernes. Are you familiar with that? And this one student turned around and said, why can't we learn this mythology? So interesting. So we did. That's what we did. So I don't really remember the first time I read the story of Lot and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. I was certainly familiar with Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac. I knew that story. And I found the story interesting, even if I wasn't sure what the point was. It seemed a little sloppy to me. At any rate, I did notice that Lot's wife and daughters were never named. Don't know why it bothered me, but it did. I think it's important to note at this point in time in terms of when this story takes place. So we're after Noah and the flood, and then a period of time goes by, and then Abraham appears, and then this story is told, but it's way before Moses, and that's important to understand, way before Moses, and Leviticus, of course, was written after, that was part of Moses. Well, people say that Moses wrote it, but that was at the same time, but it's a long time later. So there really weren't any rules per se, nothing written down, because of course in this, like I said, people didn't write then, people didn't read. And so I think there are some rules, but I don't know that they were written down. So at the beginning of the story, Abraham makes a very big deal of welcoming these three people. He has no idea who these people are, or they look like people, I should say it that way. And he invites them in. There's a huge thing about, go make some bread, go get some beef, get some everything. And let me wash your feet. Please just be comfortable and come in. And this is what's known in that part of the world as the rule of hospitality. If you live somewhere like that, we're not talking about a time where you could go to the motel down the street, or you could even go to the grocery store. If you were traveling, you had to find somewhere to stay, and you had to have somebody feed you, you had to have somebody take care of you. And it was extremely important and very sacred that you recognize the rule of hospitality. As a matter of fact, it even went so far as to say you gave these guests everything possible to take care of them, even your wife, if that was their thing, which I was sort of shocked at the time, but it's that important, right? So Abraham greets these three individuals. He doesn't recognize them at first. He's not exactly sure who these people are, but he enthusiastically greets them, and washing their feet and getting the meal and all that other kind of stuff. And at some point, God says, well, I got to tell you that these two, they're not men, they're angels. And it's sort of like, okay, angels. So I'd like to note at this point in time, because I have found through my years of Sunday school teaching that children have a very warped idea of what an angel really is. Actually, a lot of adults do too. Angels are not people, okay? They are not human. They were created by God. They don't reproduce. They're immortal. Why would you bother, They don't have any gender whatsoever. They are non-sexual beings. They're neither male nor female, but they can disguise themselves to look like a person, but they're not. And it's an important distinction. I've had people, those are dead people's souls. They're just messengers, and enforcers. I guess you could call them that too. So after they have partaken in Abraham and Sarah's hospitality, Abraham learns that God intends to completely destroy these cities, because he says they're wicked people without specifically naming what that is. Abraham realizes that his nephew, Lot, lives there. So as the angel and God are walking away, he negotiates to save his nephew. Finally, God agrees to not destroy the city if there are 10 innocent people to be found there. Although we'll find out that that's not completely true, is it? So God doesn't follow the angels to Sodom. He leaves them up to decide whether the 10 innocent people are there. And when they arrive, Lot greets them, invites them in to take part of his hospitality. He doesn't know who they are or what they're doing, but that doesn't matter. In this part of the world, that's what you do. You invite people in. And even your enemies, even if these people are your sworn enemies, you got to take them in. So the citizens of Sodom come to Lot's home in a mob and demand that he give the guests over to them so that they can assault them. Assault. Lot tries to reason with him. He offers his 2 daughters to the mob. And what they call Lot, they're saying, well, wait a second, those people are strangers. We don't know these people. As a matter of fact, you're an immigrant, aren't you? And he kind of backs off. Now, you'll notice, I don't remember that he asked whether they had a warrant, to come by. Not sure that it would have made a difference. But there you go. The other part that missed out here, I never caught the part in the story where the angels went out and tried to figure out if there were 10 innocent people. You remember? Stephen he did the math. I mean, you've got, Lot and his wife, and okay, that's 4. You need 6 more. As it turns out, he had his children, his 2 daughters and their husband, but we're still not to 10. But the angels don't know that. I didn't hear that in the story, that they went out and tried to talk to people. It's like, well, are you a sinner? Are you okay? Do you do this, that, or the other? So I just always thought that was kind of weird. So and then the next part of the story that has me a little bit confused, and I just throw that out here, this whole business of turning around and looking at things and then getting, zapped to become a pillar of salt. That's another thing I remember from the original story. It's like, why? Just don't know. Just what the lesson is, don't turn around. That's about it. So to me, I'd say this story kind of guides us in our understanding of our current dilemma with our immigrants in the United States. It cannot be argued that the current state of our country is that we welcome strangers and make them feel at home, and the government sends out ICE agents to arrest people as they go about their peaceful business. So instead of this obvious reason for the demise of Sodom and Gomorrah, that of violating the issue of hospitality, people use the story to declare that people are being destroyed because of their sexual preferences. If that was it, why did he bother even saying, why didn't you just zap them, right? I mean, they could have zapped all the men, or they could have zapped all the women, or they could have zapped but they just willy-nilly just destroy the place. I will add one other part from the Bible in Ezekiel, he's a prophet, way, way later. The author says that the reason Sodom was destroyed was because it was arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy. They were haughty and did detestable things before me. Does that sound familiar to you? So, we must hear this story like any other. What is the lesson? We should love our neighbor as ourselves. We must care for strangers and people who ask for help. To me, there's no other logical conclusion.
She forgot a line. That's okay. Our closing hymn is one, Please Rise As You're Able, for hymn 169, We Shall Overcome. We close this service again quoting Michael Servetus, who I really hope he said this just before he died. "I will burn, but this is a mere incident. We shall continue our discussion in eternity." Please stay for the postlude and keep your eye on the screen because there's an epilogue to the story that we thought was too hot for church to tell. And as your final act of worship, turn and greet your neighbor.